I'm going to call the meeting to order Monday, December 9th at 5:03 p.m. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Newsma,
Here.
Councilmember Burns, Councilmember Reed, Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Present.
3, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you so much. So we can begin our business. We have no one online. And it is my understanding that we don't have public comment. Is there anyone online on the Zoom call that wishes to participate in public comment? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you. I'm looking for motion on our
Madam
agenda.
Chair, I will move approval of the minutes of the ANPW committee meeting of November 25th.
All right.
With a second
Claire, I need
from
a second.
Councilmember Kelly.
Okay, it has been moved and properly acknowledged for the approval of the minutes from November 25th, 2024. Can I have that by consent? All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, that passes 3-0. Thank you. On to the consent agenda. Are there any items that we'd like to have pulled off at this time?
A31, please.
And A3.
A31 and A3. Trying to see if my other council members are here. Nope. All right.
Hold on. Let's see if Councilmember Revelle wants to talk about
Oh, did you
8:30 at APNW, or do you want to have that conversation?
did you
at
want to have
council?
public comment, Councilmember Revelle? Okay. Yeah, we're doing consent.
I'm asking for suspension of the rules, so do you need to pull it off?
Not APW.
Okay, so we'll leave it on consent here.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let me repeat that. We are pulling A3 and A31, correct? Can I have motion on the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move approval of the consent agenda minus items A3 and A31.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, so let me be clear that we will remove and have discussion on A3 and A31. All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposition. It has been moved. A3,
Madam Chair, I will move I'll move item A3, which is an update on the city's ARPA funding. And this is to accept and place on file a report from staff.
all right.
And
So I guess I just wanted a couple of
First, you have
questions.
to second.
Oh, I'm
and then
sorry.
we'll
I
open for
pardon me. I
discussion.
second.
It's okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Councilmember Kelly.
Let's see, a couple of questions about our remaining balance, since this is right, I think at the end of the year, it has to be obligated. And maybe if you could just explain to us a little bit all that obligated encompasses, I think would be helpful for council to know. And then I did have a question about the funding that was allocated for the project on Church Street. I know it's in the middle of a lawsuit, and like how that will work, and if we continue to allocate it for that, and should something not work out, I mean, what will happen with that? I think it's at 1.5 million. So that's the first question, and then just a couple of other questions, but maybe that one first. Thank you.
All right, so we'll start with
as
question
a
one.
point of order, that 1.5 million for affordable housing, that was actually item A18. But
Right, I was
Oh,
going
I'm
to point
sorry.
that out.
I'm sure it's
Okay,
going to be the
sorry,
same
okay.
conversation.
Thank you.
Sarah Flax, Community Development Director. Do we want to start with the sort of update stuff and then go to the one that's later, or do we want to take them out of order? I don't care.
Well, I guess it's part of the whole ARPA update. Yeah, if you were going to do a presentation on the ARPA update, then I can ask questions afterwards, if that was the plan.
No, actually, it was just a memo to provide information. Why don't,
Okay.
any specific questions, or maybe I can just
Yeah, I
describe
guess-
what's left going on, which I think that was what you wanted
Exactly.
people to hear.
Yeah, so a little bit of an explanation about what it means to have our funds obligated, what's entailed with that. Because I
Sure.
also, and I know we hired someone full-time, right, Erica Tajita, for
Yes.
4 years, full-time to manage. Does she, will she present to us also, since she's in charge of our ARPA, right?
She's in charge of the compliance work on it.
Of the okay, so she's hired 4 years full-time for that, okay. Then I guess I had a question, yeah, about the project on Church Street and how, what will happen with those funds in the event that something, that doesn't end up working out for any reason.
Sure.
And then I also had a question about.
So let her answer
okay,
that one. So,
Certainly.
Sure.
Please start there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Because the project is on hold right now because of a lawsuit, we are proposing that City Council approve an obligation through an interagency agreement, and this would be between our city manager and community development. And the obligation would be for affordable housing, and there are a number of, this is all in the memo, a number of different types of affordable housing work that could be included in this or that would be eligible. Acquisition of property for affordable housing, also new construction and rehabilitation. Those are the key things that would be in there. And what we're doing as we write these interagency agreements, as they call them, is we will tie them to specific eligible activities, which are noted in the memo. So there are a number of them. One is under Category 2, which is negative economic impacts assistance to households, and is long-term housing security, affordable housing. You can fit a lot of things under that. And then depending on what the projects are and how they are funded, and what other funding might be involved, and what the specifics of them are, Treasury added a new set of eligible activities under number 10, which are called Title I projects. And Title I refers to the Title I in the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. And all of these individual things, acquisition of real property, clearance, demolition, removal, reconstruction and rehabilitation, all those bullet pointed things tie to different types of housing activities in that act. The federal government really found that with their housing money, they were making it much easier for anybody to understand what they could really do when they tie it to existing programs that the federal government has been providing for years. And so this document will be drawn up, given council's approval to draft this, because this is seen as a potential reallocation from just the HODC project. We will see if the HODC project is going to move forward, and we'll have to keep council apprised of that. We don't have an absolute deadline for it. HODC got an extension of their tax credit timing, so they have till the end of 2025 to meet their obligation for the tax credits for starting. And we just have to see how the lawsuit proceeds.
Okay, thank you. So that's question one. Was
Follow up
second-
on that?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that explanation. I apologize if I missed some of the details in the packet on that, but I also think for the public, it's helpful to understand. So the interagency agreements, so the Treasury Department, just so I understand,
Hold on
allows
one
the
second.
city.
I just want to add Councilmember Burns to the row at 511. So, great. Thank you.
Just so I understand, so the Treasury Department allows the city to basically make a contract with itself.
Yep.
Not for necessarily a specific contract, but for these concepts such as those that you read off. Like, we aren't necessarily allocating to anything in specific, but we say, so the interagency in this case would be the city with community development department, or how does?
Yeah, we're putting community development in just simply because we're the department that usually works on those things, so.
Right, okay, so it's an interagency agreement to perform work such as that you.
Yes.
So we don't actually have to obligate in any contract per se, just a contract with ourselves, so to
Correct.
speak.
And any agreement for the specific use of those funds would come back to city council for approval, of course.
Great, okay, thank you so much. That's great. That's good to know. And then I guess my other question was, my main question here would be regarding, and I know at the beginning, back in 21 or 22, when we did this, it was, somewhat controversial, the amount of money that we did allocate for grant management, which was $1 million. Can you give us an overall, is it possible to give sort of a breakdown as to, and I know we've spent about $500,000, so I think that's paying for some of our own in-house staff salary, correct? As well
Yes.
as the independent contractor, Erica Tejeda, for 4 years.
Yes, because we have, in fact, the staff time for the people who handled the participatory budgeting falls under that category. So the way we allocate funds doesn't always work the way Treasury wants us to report them. In addition, other people who have worked on projects, most of these are done, like when we did the small landlord program, when we were doing a lot of different work, bringing items to council for approval. In the early years of this, the YMCA project, the Family Focus project, the funding for virtually everything, childcare, all of those different, the staff that helped develop those and bring those to council, all of that was tracked and billed against administration, because all of that is, and also they did some compliance work too. We had to make sure that people were spending the money right. So all of that gets in this category.
So would it be possible to, or I can, if not, you could probably provide an email later, but would you say like half of this money is just going to pay for our in-house staff?
These are staff that are doing stuff that isn't their normal job, so that's why we take advantage of being able to bill it to this, because it is over and above their
Sure.
normal responsibility. But there's also, there's a ton of time spent on things like the single audit, which is absolutely billable to our federal grants, because that's why we do it. So it's a lot of different things like that.
No, I'm sure it's can't imagine the work involved in doing the reporting. I just am trying to get an idea of how much of this is going to cover, to offset salaries for in-house staff versus like the one person. I know we hired one person, right, for 4 years full-time. Did we hire anybody else as an independent contractor?
Well, the participatory budgeting people were hired, and so they are in that group. And I don't have it off the top of my head, but that can be broken out for you.
But that's listed separately. The participatory budgeting is not listed within.
No, but what I was saying was explaining that for staff that is handling the administrative purpose, that is billed
All
there,
of that is
regardless of
billed.
where we allocate it.
Right,
Because that's
okay,
the-
so because I know there's 2 line items for participatory budgeting, you're saying that for all those lines, not just participatory budgeting, but for allocating all those funds, not just that one, that staff's time was billed through
admin.
ARPA.
Yeah.
Billed through- It would just be nice to kind of get an
Right.
idea as to how much we were.
Just so that you know, the participatory budgeting that shows up in the spreadsheet now, that is $94,059.10 that was expended, that was on all of the, that was on the materials they developed for the participatory budgeting program. It was they did a lot of things that enabled people to be involved. They paid childcare when there were meetings. They
Yeah, I'm not
provided
questioning
food.
that.
So that's what's in that group,
Okay.
and that's why it's so much smaller than it was budgeted at. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay, then could I get, would it be possible, not right now, but just a breakdown, like, that we funded this many staff members, I mean, we should be able to account for it, like that, $1 million, just how that was spent. I do remember with Cicely Fleming when she was here, and she was driving hard, really trying to, we all had a hard time with that number, so it would be great to see, to get a breakdown of how that compliance number. And I think that's all.
Sure.
Thank you.
Happy to do
Thank you
that.
very much.
All right, thank you so much. Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you. Sarah, I have a couple of questions. So the first question is specific to A3, which is what we're talking about right now. Part of what we're approving is a contingency plan that if for some reason we are unable to spend our ARPA money before the deadline, we have a contingency plan.
Yes, we do.
Which is to put that money into our water fund, put it to productive use there.
Well, it's not into our water fund. It would be specifically to a water project. I think it's additional water mains, but I don't actually
Yeah,
recall.
a water main replacement.
But it
project.
was, we specifically bid it with all the ARPA requirements so that we can shift money to that because it has been procured, the whole
So
procurement.
that's our fail-safe.
That is our fail-safe.
And we feel like
I
we're
do
probably
not
not
expect
gonna
we're
have
going to use it, but I'm risk averse, so I try to put something in for everything
Okay,
to
so I'm
cover
totally good to
everything.
go on A3. Next question relates more to A18, which we did not remove from consent, but as long as we're talking ARPA. So the $1.5 million of ARPA that we had previously allocated for the HODC project in church.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ideally use that $1.5 million for that project.
Yes.
We don't know if that project is gonna come together in time to use ARPA money.
Mm-hmm.
If we have to use that 1.5 in ARPA money for something else,
Mm-hmm.
is there another 1.5 we could find to uphold our obligations to
Spend
the
that on?
HODC project?
Yes, I think that what we would then do is we would look at the Affordable Housing Fund, what's already in the Affordable Housing Fund, because that's what we would, that project also had some Affordable Housing Fund money, but, from that standpoint, it's fungible and we can
Yeah.
use either of
So
those
there's
funds at
enough
that
going
time.
on in the Affordable Housing Fund and enough money there that if push comes to shove, we could find another $1.5 million for the HODC project.
Yes, because when you think about it, most of the, not all the money, if HODC has to be starting construction by the end of 2025, but they have generally, for a project this size, you have an 18-month construction period. So we would be getting additional money from Northwestern's contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund during that time period and things like that. We also have some of the same considerations with some of our home funding because we had home funding allocated for that project. So we're going to have to do the same thing. We're going to have to just watch the timing of all of those things.
Great, thank you.
It's one of our lovely projects.
All right, thank you so much. Councilmember Kelly.
So, I know there are other needs out there that people are interested in. I feel like if we do have, is there any way that this interagency, or the interagency agreement can be used beyond, is there any way to leave it? So I know, for example, Firehouse number 4, that the firefighters there, their workout space is right near the Bay Area, so they're breathing fumes, diesel fumes, and it's just a really unhealthy workspace, and it'd be really nice. I've heard that they would really love to retrofit and rehab that area so that it's isolated from the Bay Area, so they're not breathing those fumes. Given that, physical fitness and health is really paramount to their performance, I would love to see us, at least consider that. So I guess I'm wondering how we can, as opposed to just ending up with, these funds that we're just going to, basically do interagency contracts, or if we do that, is there a way to do it so that this could also be considered for if we have that funding?
That, from my standpoint, would be a decision based on city council. I think the consideration would be, of all the ARPA money, not a whole lot of it was actually allocated for affordable housing, and I think that it's important that funding be kept in that affordable housing bucket since it is also one of the priorities of council. If council were to vote to want to add something like that, could it be added? I suppose it could, but quite honestly, I think there's more than enough need in the Affordable Housing Fund area that I think that perhaps it would be better.
Sure. I think
to
there's
look
an
for other
endless
sources.
need in affordable housing. Endless, right? Something we could try. There's an endless need for affordable housing.
Yes.
So I don't want to cut out any other needs of our staff and our firefighters. In light of this, we'll always have a need for affordable housing. So I'm just wondering, I guess my question is a little bit broader. Is there a way to, what would have to happen to make that an option? Is there any option? Would it have to come back? This is our last council meeting, right?
It would have to be approved by city council in order for us to put it into an agreement based on it not being in any consideration and not approved by city council so
Like
far.
in terms of an interagency agreement contract, what would that be with in order to allocate funds that way? Would it be with, I'm not sure. I'm just asking because I know what's happening. I think is we've found a couple times that there was more ARPA money than we realized, and somebody heard about it and they put through, money for something. And I just am wondering, if there were an interagency contract, who would it be with for that?
I don't know, because council would have to say. If it were to be put specifically with the fire department, then that would be exclusive for that use, which wouldn't preserve the money for ARPA. So, for the HODC project. So I really don't recommend
Or for anything else,
that.
just in terms of, because it's pretty broad, and I appreciate that, the interagency agreement with the community development in terms of the cities, it allows the city many options for affordable housing, which is great, and I appreciate that. I'm just wondering if I don't know, Allison? Or
So I
any
guess
of
the
those
question,
questions?
so
City
let me
Council.
summarize so we can get back on track. So what I'm hearing her ask is, this money is for affordable housing. Is there a way that if affordable housing, if we don't spend it all, if there's some extra, we could circumvent it to a different project? I'm not going to tie into firehouse or any one thing, but do we have the flexibility to do something outside of the housing? Am I summarizing that correctly, Councilmember Kelly? For the most part.
You are, for the most part.
Okay,
I guess
thank
I'm
you.
wondering if
So
there's a
let's
broader
let her
way-
answer.
A
So-
broader way to classify the interagency. so
Can you
that it
answer
could
that
include
for
more.
us so we can move on, please?
It could
Not your
be,
fault, but
but
let's
it would
move.
have to be approved by city council
Right,
for
okay.
that. And I don't know
But
that
I think
city
she's
council
asking on
can
a
vote
federal
on
level.
something.
She's asking on a federal level, if we have 1.5 million,
Yes,
we only spend 1 and we do everything that we wish to do, and we have
Yes.
this 0.5. Can we use that on other projects because of how you wrote the scope of the ARPA funding? That's the question. We know we have to vote on it, but
Right.
on a federal, would we be breaking rules and regulations?
Or
No.
include health for our staff. or
And
something.
anything, just,
well, it would, I would advise making it an eligible use, but it could be done in theory. I don't know if you can vote on an allocation of funding at a meeting where it has not been on the agenda, however. So I think you would wind
yeah,
up
we're not
having to
doing
have-
any of that today.
Okay.
I'm very clear about
But it-
that.
but-
But she's just
But-
asking the reality
It
of
has to be signed and dated by the 31st of December of this year for us. So we don't have another meeting, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
So it
Thank you.
doesn't
I
look
just want to be
viable
clear,
to me.
like, if the interagency, this could stipulate also, investment on behalf of the health or well-being of our staff. If that could be part of the overall global interagency.
Potentially. No, you're saying no.
Well, we'd have to have a vote by council.
Okay, thank you.
Without being
We're not going
specific.
to talk about that anymore.
Okay. Well, then maybe I'll
Councilmember
move to amend.
Burns?
Yeah, just to tie, you make a motion to add that to what we're discussing now. Well, I don't even know if this is, because y'all may have not even pulled it. This might be A18. I guess you probably could make the motion under this item. That's it. You make a motion, you say in addition to what's outlined in the packet, you will want to add that as a potential use of the 1.5 million. Something that I would not support, but that's what you would do.
I
Right,
am looking
but I
at
don't
our
think
legal
it's-
counsel. That would be quite a change from what's in the packet, and that would be, from my standpoint, voting on something that is a funding allocation that would require being in the packet.
I agree. I don't think that it fits into this. I guess I meant if, I
But
don't,
and I have the floor now.
Okay.
I'm not even sure that's true. I don't even think we're required to put out a packet. I know we're required to post an agenda item, but I don't know if there's anything that requires us to put out a packet. That's just something that the city of Evanston does, and we should continue to do it. Point being, it's either not allowed or you simply make a motion tonight expanding how these funds are used. Wouldn't support it because, again, from my standpoint, this is a kind of technical thing that we're being asked to adopt. What is most likely going to happen is we're going to make good on the commitment that we have already approved, which is to provide this funding to make the Mount Pisgah Apartments a successful development on Church and Darrow. So this is just giving us some more time for that lawsuit to play itself out. My understanding is the vast majority of the complaints have already been dismissed. There's only maybe 2 or 3 remaining against the city, and I anticipate that the remaining complaints will be dismissed in short time. So again, I don't think this needs to be this big of an issue. But
Okay.
but that's how I believe it would be done. And I see
Yes,
our
legal
counsel
has
some-
chimed in, so
yeah.
we're gonna let them come up or speak.
First of all, I do believe it might be a potential issue with respect to it not being on the agenda because it does involve funding. Second of all, the issue of staff well-being, while certainly an important issue, is not a priority of the ARPA per Treasury, but affordable housing is. So I don't know that we could even add that as an eligible use and be compliant with ARPA.
Thank you. Okay. One very short comment.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily, and I agree, like the funding that's allocated for the housing project, like I agree, and I'm glad to hear that we can reallocate it if, and I understand it probably wouldn't happen the way it can be I guess I was wondering to tag team on Councilmember Newsom's question, any other funding that wouldn't necessarily end up being obligated if there's a means by which we, I just think that we're gonna find that there'll be other interagency contracts and
Yeah.
so that's it. I don't want to touch the funding for the affordable housing on church. I guess I'm just wondering if there's, with other funds that might become available, I know we have until the end, if there's a way that can be a potential use. And I do think that, tending to our first responders is absolutely something that the Treasury Department does care about and is very much, I think, the well-being of staff is a component.
All right, thank you. So we're gonna move, we need a vote. It's been moved, seconded, discussion has exhausted itself. And I'd like to, yes, 8-3. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no abstention or no's, hearing none, 8-3 passes on City Council. We now will go to 8-31.
Madam Chair, I am going to move that we table item A31 to a date certain, that date being March 10th, 2025, which will be the first meeting of ANPW in March.
I'll
Second.
second.
It has been moved and seconded that we move ordinance 4025, amending City Code Section 3214 to reduce the city's liquor tax, and City Code Section 327, increase the home rule sales tax to table until March 10th, 2025. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Before we vote.
Oh,
let me
yes,
just
would you like discussion?
explain,
I'm sorry.
Explain my rationale here.
Yes, please.
Council took this item up back in May, and it was then subsequently discussed at Finance and Budget Committee. Since that time, no substantive change has taken place. And so rather than having a discussion again tonight, which would basically be a repeat of two previous discussions that have happened, I would like to hold off until something changes. And what I have in mind as changing is working its way through the Liquor Commission right now. Liquor Commission is in the process of preparing a proposal to revise our liquor license section of the city code to reduce the number of license categories, reduce in many cases the cost of those liquor licenses. And what I like to do is let that proposal work its way through the process and have that proposal come to council. And then have a robust discussion with both of these items in front of us at the same time. And between now and then, we can, do what we need to get our positions on the sales tax, food and beverage tax, liquor tax clear to ourselves so that we'll have a productive discussion when this comes back to us.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling this motion, this ordinance? Aye.
All right.
Any noes? No. All right, it passes. And that is it. So seeing no other business before us,
5:35.
planning and development can start in 3 minutes at 5:35. Oh, wait. We have a special I almost forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm the one that asked for it. So we have something special that we wanted to share this evening. Anderson, can you roll us? Hopefully you can see it at home.
Evanston Public Works, this is Edgar.
It's Luke. We need to deploy the Snow Avengers immediately.
Yes, sir. I'll do it now.
The Evanston Snow Avengers. Snow Avenger number 1. Lucio Jimenez, crew leader. Snow Avenger number 2. Robert Pompey, equipment operator 2. Snow Avenger number 3. Rodrigo Martinez, equipment operator 2. Snow Avenger number 4. Paul Crescenzo, equipment operator 2. Snow Avenger number 5. Chappelle Arnold, equipment operator 2. Snow Avenger number 6. Kelly Young, Public Works maintenance worker 1. Whenever there is a snowstorm, only one team can help. The Evanston Snow Avengers.
Wasn't that amazing? I think that's so important that we highlight, we have fun, the work that we do. So thank you to Public Works. Thank you to our IT and Anderson. And hopefully we got Chappelle out that salt. We know where he is. But yeah, he's still there. Let's go get him. So thank you all again for indulging me, and they'll start in 2 minutes. Thank you.